Have you ever felt that gut feeling, that inexplicable knowing that guides you when logic and reason fail? It's like a whisper from within, an intimate voice, trying to show you something important, something beyond the limits of your conscious mind. What if I told you that this inner voice isn't just a random hunch, but a profound psychological function that bridges the conscious and unconscious realms? And what if today you and I could learn to master it together? Here's the deal. By the end of this video, you won't just understand Carl Jung's groundbreaking insights into intuition. You'll walk away with practical tools to tap into your own inner wisdom in ways you never thought possible. But first, let me tell you a story. Imagine a man standing at a crossroads. He has no map, no compass, and no one to guide him. Yet, somehow, he knows which path to take, not because he can see where it leads, but because something deep inside him tells him it's the right way. This is intuition, the mysterious, almost magical ability to know without knowing how. And Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believes that this wasn't just a quirky human trait, but one of the 4 fundamental ways we perceive the world. He called intuition a bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. And today, we're going to cross that bridge together. But here's a twist. What if I told you that intuition isn't always reliable? That sometimes it leads us astray, blurring the line between genuine insight and personal bias? Stick with me, because we're about to explore not just the power of intuition, but also its pitfalls. By the end of this journey, you'll understand not only how to trust your gut, but also when to question it. Click subscribe to this channel to get more insights into human psychology. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you had an "ah" moment? That sudden flash of insight that seemed to come out of nowhere. That's intuition in action. Jung described these moments as gifts from the unconscious. They're not the result of deliberate thought, but rather a spontaneous and often inexplicable awareness. It's as if the unconscious mind has been working behind the scenes, piecing together fragments of information, and then, in a moment of clarity, handing you the answer. But here's where it gets fascinating and a little tricky. Jung believed there are 2 distinct types of intuition: extroverted and introverted. Extroverted intuition is outward-looking. It's about exploring possibilities in the external world, connecting ideas and seeing potential in situations and people. It's the kind of intuition that drives creativity and innovation, helping us imagine what could be. On the other hand, introverted intuition is inward-looking. It's about delving into the depths of the inner world, seeking meaning and understanding from within. Introverted intuition often manifests as a deep, almost mystical sense of knowing, guiding us toward insights that feel profound and transformative. Let's ground this in a psychological experiment. Imagine 2 groups of people. The first group is asked to solve a series of logical puzzles using only analytical reasoning. The second group is given the same puzzles, but encouraged to pause and reflect, tapping into their intuition. What do you think happens? Time and time again, studies have shown that while analytical thinking excels in structured, predictable scenarios, intuition often outperforms logic in complex, ambiguous situations. Why? Because intuition taps into the vast reservoir of unconscious knowledge, patterns, experiences, and insights that our conscious mind can't easily access. But here's the catch. Intuition isn't infallible. It's shaped by our experiences, our emotions, and yes, even our biases. For example, have you ever had a gut feeling about someone that turned out to be completely wrong? That's because intuition, while powerful, can be influenced by unconscious prejudices and assumptions. Jung recognized this danger and emphasized the importance of balancing intuition with rational analysis. He believed that while intuition can guide us toward possibilities, it's up to our thinking mind to evaluate those possibilities critically. So, how do we cultivate intuition while avoiding its pitfalls? First, we need to create space for it. Intuition thrives in stillness and silence, away from the noise and distractions of daily life. Techniques like meditation and mindfulness can help quiet the mind, allowing us to tune into the subtle signals of our inner wisdom. Jung himself developed a practice called active imagination, where he would enter a meditative state and engage with the symbols and images that arose from his unconscious. This practice not only deepened his understanding of himself, but also provided profound insights into his work. Another powerful tool for developing intuition is journaling. By writing down your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, you create a dialogue with your unconscious mind. Pay attention to recurring themes, symbols, and patterns. They often hold the key to intuitive insights. And don't be afraid to trust your gut feelings. Often, our bodies sense things that our minds haven't yet processed. That tightness in your chest or that flutter in your stomach might be your intuition trying to tell you something important. Now that we've laid the foundation for understanding Carl Jung's perspective on intuition and explored its dual nature, extroverted and introverted, it's time to go further into how this mysterious function connects to the unconscious mind and how we can harness it for profound personal growth. But here's where things get intense. Intuition isn't just a tool for decision-making. It's a gateway to the deepest parts of who we are. And, as Jung believed, it's essential for the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming your most authentic self. But before we go there, let me ask you this. How often do you listen to the quiet voice within you, and how much of your life is guided by it? Let's find out if you're truly tapping into your inner wisdom or if you're drowning it out with logic and noise. Jung's fascination with intuition was deeply tied to his work on the unconscious mind. He believed that the unconscious isn't just a repository of forgotten memories or repressed desires. It's a living, dynamic force that shapes our thoughts, behaviors, and perceptions in ways we're often unaware of. When you have an intuitive insight, it's like the unconscious is throwing you a lifeline, saying, "Hey, pay attention to this." But here's the kicker. The unconscious doesn't speak in words or logical arguments. It speaks in symbols, images, and feelings. That's why intuitive insights often feel vague or abstract at first. The messages from a part of your mind that operates on a completely different wavelength from your conscious thoughts. Let me give you an example. Have you ever had a dream that felt strangely significant, even though it didn't make any logical sense? Maybe you dreamed about a bird flying through a storm, or a door that wouldn't open. Jung would say that these dream images are symbols from your unconscious, offering clues about issues you're grappling with in your waking life. Intuition works in a similar way. It's not about logical step-by-step reasoning, it's about connecting the dots in a way that feels almost magical. Here's a fascinating psychological experiment that illustrates this. In one study, participants were asked to play a card game where some decks were rigged to be more advantageous than others. Without being told the rules, they had to figure out which decks were good and which were bad. Here's the surprising part. Long before the participants could consciously explain which decks were better, their bodies knew. Their heart rates increased, and their palms began to sweat when they reached for the bad decks, even though they couldn't articulate why. This is intuition in action. Your unconscious mind picking up on patterns and sending signals to guide your behavior before your conscious mind catches up. Let's try a practical exercise. Think about a decision you're currently facing. It could be something big, like whether to change careers, or something smaller, like whether to say yes to a social invitation. Close your eyes and visualize the two options in front of you. Imagine stepping onto the path of option A. How does it feel? Pay attention to your body. Is there a sense of lightness, excitement, or calm? Or do you feel tension, heaviness, or discomfort? Now do the same with option B. This exercise taps into what some psychologists call somatic markers, physical sensations that reflect your unconscious evaluation of different choices. These gut feelings are one of the ways your intuition communicates with you. But let's not stop there. To truly master intuition, we need to go deeper into Jung's concept of the collective unconscious. Jung believed that our unconscious mind isn't just shaped by our personal experiences, it's also influenced by a shared reservoir of symbols, architects, and patterns that are universal to all humans. This is why myths, stories, and symbols from different cultures often contain similar themes. They tap into the same deep well of collective unconscious knowledge. When you have an intuitive insight, Jung would argue that you're not just drawing on your own experiences, you're also accessing this vast shared wisdom. Think about the archetype of the wise old man or wise old woman that appears in myths and stories across cultures. This figure represents intuition at its highest level, a source of guidance that transcends the individual. In psychological terms, this archetype lives within all of us. When you cultivate your intuition, you're essentially awakening this inner guide, tapping into a part of yourself that knows more than your conscious mind ever could. But here's the twist. Awakening this inner guide isn't always easy. It requires confronting parts of yourself that you might prefer to ignore. Jung called this the process of shadow work, facing the hidden, often uncomfortable aspects of your psyche. Why? Because the shadow holds the keys to your unconscious. By integrating it, you gain access to the deeper layers of your mind, where intuition resides. For example, if you've been ignoring your feelings of anger or fear, those emotions might block your ability to trust your intuition. But when you confront and integrate them, you clear the way for your inner wisdom to emerge. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly listened to your dreams? Not just as random nonsense, but as messages from your unconscious mind. Jung believed that dreams are one of the most powerful tools for developing intuition. The next time you have a vivid dream, write it down. Look for symbols, patterns, and emotions. What might they be trying to tell you? Don't worry if the meaning isn't immediately clear. Sometimes the act of reflecting on a dream is enough to spark an intuitive insight. Another technique Jung recommended is active imagination. Here's how it works. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes and focus on a question or issue you're grappling with. Then, let your mind wander. Don't try to control the images or thoughts that arise, just observe them. You might see a symbol, hear a voice, or feel a sensation. Whatever comes up, engage with it. Ask it questions. See where it leads. This practice helps you build a dialogue with your unconscious mind, strengthening your intuitive connection. As we continue this journey, remember that intuition isn't about perfection. It's not about always getting it right. It's about learning to trust the process, to listen to the subtle whispers of your inner wisdom, and to balance those whispers with critical thinking and self-awareness. So, let me ask you again, how often do you truly trust your intuition, and how might your life change if you did? Now that we've explored the mechanics of intuition and its deep connection to both the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious, let's take this journey even further. In this final part, we're going to talk about how intuition can transform your life, not just in the decisions you make, but in how you understand yourself, your relationships, and your purpose. But remember, this isn't just about developing a skill. It's about embarking on a psychological journey, a process of self-discovery that Carl Jung called individuation. And as we dive into this, I want you to keep one question in mind. What if the answers you've been searching for outside of yourself have been within you all along? Let's start with individuation. According to Jung, individuation is the process of becoming who you truly are, not the person you think you should be, not the person society wants you to be, but the full, authentic version of yourself. It's about integrating every part of your psyche, including the unconscious, into a harmonious whole. And here's the kicker. Intuition plays a critical role in this process. Why? Because it's the function that helps you access the unconscious, bringing its hidden wisdom into the light of consciousness. Think of intuition as a bridge, a way to connect the rational, structured world of the conscious mind with the vast, mysterious realm of the unconscious. Without this bridge, we risk getting stuck in one of two extremes. Either we become overly rational, relying only on logic and ignoring the deeper symbolic layers of life, or we become lost in the unconscious, overwhelmed by emotions and impulses we don't understand. Intuition helps us navigate this balance, giving us access to insights that transcend the limits of logic, while still allowing us to ground those insights in reality. But here's the challenge. Building this bridge takes work. It requires us to engage with aspects of ourselves that we might prefer to avoid. For example, have you ever had a gut feeling that something was wrong, only to dismiss it because it didn't seem logical? Later, you realize that your intuition was trying to warn you, but you ignored it because you didn't trust yourself. This is where many of us struggle. We've been conditioned to prioritize external validation, data, opinions, societal norms, over our own inner knowing. And yet, as Jung would argue, the path to individuation begins with learning to trust that inner voice. Let me tell you about a fascinating psychological experiment that highlights this. In one study, participants were asked to predict the outcome of a series of complex scenarios. One group relied purely on logical analysis, while the other was encouraged to listen to their intuition. The results? The intuitive group consistently performed better in situations where the variables were too complex for logic to handle. Why? Because intuition draws on a lifetime of experiences, patterns, and unconscious knowledge, synthesizing them into insights that the conscious mind can't easily articulate. It's like having a supercomputer working behind the scenes, processing data you don't even realize you have. But here's the twist. Intuition isn't just about making decisions. It's also about understanding yourself on a deeper level. Think about it. How often do you reflect on the decisions you've made and ask yourself why you made them? Not just the surface level reasons, but the deeper motivations and fears that might have influenced you. This kind of reflection is critical for developing self-awareness, and intuition is your guide in this process. Now, did you notice that the subtle patterns in your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors revealing truths about yourself that you might otherwise miss, let's try another practical exercise. Think back to a time when you had a strong gut feeling about something, a decision, a person, a situation. What did that feeling tell you? And more importantly, were you able to act on it, or did you hesitate? Now, ask yourself this: what might have been different if you had fully trusted your intuition at that moment? This kind of reflection is powerful because it helps you tune into the ways your intuition has already been guiding you, even if you didn't realize it at the time. Now, let's talk about relationships. Jung believed that intuition plays a crucial role in how we connect with others. It's what allows us to sense someone's emotions, motivations, and unspoken needs, even when they don't express them explicitly. Have you ever met someone and felt an immediate connection, as if you understood them on a deeper level? That's intuition at work. It's not just about reading their words or actions, it's about picking up on the subtle cues that reveal their inner world. But here's the thing. Intuition can also expose us to the parts of ourselves that we project onto others. Jung called this the shadow, the aspect of our personality that we reject or deny because they don't fit with our self-image. When we're unaware of our shadow, we often project it onto the people around us, seeing in them the qualities we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. For example, if you're uncomfortable with your own anger, you might perceive others as being overly aggressive, even when they're not. Intuition helps us recognize these projections, giving us the opportunity to own and integrate our shadow instead of letting it control us. Here's a real-world application of this idea. The next time you find yourself feeling a strong emotional reaction to someone, whether it's admiration, irritation, or even jealousy, pause and ask yourself, what might this person be reflecting back to me about myself? In this enterprise, this is a powerful way to use intuition as a tool for self-discovery. Instead of reacting automatically, you can step back and explore what your feelings might be trying to tell you. And now let's bring this full circle. The ultimate purpose of intuition, according to Jung, is not just to help us make better decisions or understand ourselves more deeply. It's to guide us toward a sense of purpose and meaning. Jung believed that each of us has a unique path in life, a calling that emerges from the depths of our unconscious. Intuition is the compass that helps us find that path, even when the way forward isn't clear. Think about it. How many times have you ignored a gut feeling because it didn't seem practical, only to regret it later? What if, instead of dismissing those feelings, you started paying attention to them? What if you treated your intuition as a trusted guide, one that's always working in your best interest, even when you don't fully understand it? Imagine how your life might change if you started living in alignment with that inner wisdom. To wrap this up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Over the next week, commit to listening to your intuition in small, everyday decisions. Maybe it's choosing what to eat, which route to take or how to respond to a difficult situation. Notice what your gut tells you and try following it, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. Then reflect on the results. Did your intuition lead you in the right direction? What did you learn from the experience? Carl Jung believed that intuition is one of the most powerful tools we have for navigating life's complexities. It's not perfect, and it's not always easy to understand, but when we learn to trust it, it can lead us to insights, connections, and possibilities that we might never have discovered otherwise. The question is, are you ready to trust yourself? Are you ready to embrace the wisdom that's been inside you all along? Thank you for staying with me on this journey. Now it's your turn. What will you do with the insights you've gained today?